Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports Online. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, please do click the right subscribe button. And if you're watching the video now, it's down in the right hand. Whoops, there's right hand corner. No, let's try and get this way. No, yeah, right hand corner. You'll see the button the button there, right hand corner. Click that there, right in the corner. Subscribe. Hit that button, you'll subscribe to the channel. Okay, so we are also there's also now a donate button on the channel as well for those who have been inboxing us and asking how to donate. It's there as well. So it's pretty late in the morning for UK people. For those in America, it's only, I don't know, it's midnight, almost 1 o'clock here, 1, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8 p.m., between 8 to 6 p.m. in America. Anyway, let's get on with it. So the conversation I'm going to be having here or talking about is Anthony Yarde. And I've got the title as Anthony Yarde, Marinating Fights, Managing Fighters and Entertaining Fans. Generally, if you go across, particularly boxing UK fans and those who swear an allegiance to one promoter or the other, you will find that people are what one promoter can get away with, another promoter cannot get away with. If you listen to some of these guys talking, let me make sure I'm not frozen here. It looks like I'm frozen on this. No, I'm not frozen, thank good. Right, you've got one promoter. You've got people who will go either one promoter or another promoter, and if one promoter says it, it's fine. But if another promoter says it, it's not acceptable. Now, marinating fights. Now, some of the greatest fights in the world that we've seen in the past have been two fighters fighting at their very best. They're both prepared. They've gone through the hard fights. They're prepared. They're battle worn. They're ready. They're experienced, and they can give it their all in a big fight. But through many years of boxing, we've seen fights where people complain, i.e., you all wanted Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Then when you got Mayweather Pacquiao, you said it wasn't going to happen. Then when it happened, you complained about it because Pacquiao was too old or Mayweather wasn't in his prime. When Tyson fought Lewis, we all wanted to see Tyson versus Lewis. When Tyson fought Lewis, what was the problem? Tyson was come out of prison. He hadn't fought any decent fights. And if Tyson had fought Holyfield when he was a customary, he would have knocked Holyfield out. Well, that's all speculation, isn't it? The bottom line is Holyfield fought Tyson when he fought Tyson. Oh, if they'd fought back in 1990, whatever it was, then then Holyfield would have got beat by Tyson because Tyson was knocking everybody out. So it's timing, marinating great fights. Kevin Kelly versus Prince Nazim Hamid, a great fight. Kelly was just on the slide. Hamid was on his way up. It was an entertaining fight. We've seen fights in the past where two top guys have come together and fought, and they're both in their prime and they fought. We've had situations in the UK recently where Isaac Chamberlain fought Lawrence Okoli. Isaac Chamberlain wasn't ready for that fight. You can have all the street beef all you want. Isaac Chamberlain wasn't ready. He hadn't fought in the big arenas. Okoli was an international star. He'd fought in the Olympics. He had that experience. He had that pedigree. So when it came down to being under the bright lights, who was going to perform better? It was going to be Lawrence Okoli. We had another situation with a fighter who had very little amateur experience against a guy who had a decorated amateur career in Josh Taylor and O'Hara Davis, and the person you've got to blame for all this today of fighters maybe ducking one another or trying to protect their O is Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather's first fight that was talking about being an unbeaten fighter and using his O as his selling tool. I've never been beaten. 45, 46 tried, 47 have tried, 48 have tried, 49 have tried, 50 have tried and never beat me. That was his selling card. Nobody's beat me. Everyone said they can beat him. Nobody beat him. And so therefore, nobody on record beat him. People will argue about the Castillo fight. People will argue you about the Marcos Maidana fight, but it's an unblemished record, and that is what Floyd sold. So that the blueprints are work hard, have skill, stay unbeaten, beat the best guys in the world, and you'll make loads and loads and loads of money. Floyd was fortunate; he had HBO and a 24/7 program that that sold Floyd to a massive audience that way, and then from that afterwards, he was able to go from there to Showtime. A lot of these fighters today don't have that. They may be on Sky Sports, but they don't run Sky Sports. They can't go on Sky Sports and run Sky Sports. As Floyd was more or less able to do HBO, leave HBO and go to Showtime and take his videos with him. Totally different setup. And Floyd had a tremendous team around him, and he was more in control of his decisions. You know what I mean? He had paid his dues first. And then from that point, built from there. A lot of these fighters are not prepared to pay their dues. And so, where does this come into Anthony Yarde, you're wondering? Well, here's the point here. Yarde is a fighter that's had only 12 amateur bouts. Well, you can't keep making excuses. Tim Witherspoon had X amount of bouts. Okay, fine. And I understood Uncle Bashir saying that. But there are a lot of people today that boxing fans, and there are boxing fans today, they do not understand the business of boxing. So they are boxing fans and they want to be entertained. So they will stick the best fighter against the best fighter week in, week out, and destroy fighters' careers. They don't care if they see Dave Allen week in, week out. One week he's fighting Ortiz, next week he's fighting Joshua, next week he's fighting Wilder, next week he's fighting Fury. They are boxing fans that want that because they just want to be entertained. They want to be entertained. And then when the fight is washed up and beaten up and has lost all the fights, then they turn around and be very derogatory and call that fighter a bum. Okay, despite that fighter putting himself on the line all the time. He's tough, he's strong, he'll fight anybody. A bum. And basically, a lot of these people will not pay tickets to see these guys fight. That's the first thing. And the second thing on top of that is they're the first to tell you he's not very good. Okay. And this is what, yes, my brother, world breaker fighting. Listen, we're going to be breaking some big news tonight, brother, so stay tuned. So they're the first to turn around and tell you, not these fans I've got goalposts. And this is how their goalposts start. They'll start, okay, right, I want you to fight. So let's use Anthony Yarde, for example. Anthony Yarde, they say, he's got to step up and fight somebody. That's right. He steps up, he fights Frank Buglioni. Let's say, example, he fights Buglioni, he knocks Buglioni out. What are people going to say? Here are the fans. He stepped up, he fought Buglioni, but Buglioni got smashed around by Callum Johnson, and Buglioni got knocked out by some bum. Okay. So that's all right. You haven't missed anything important, Mac the Knife. Just talking about boxing fans. So, okay, so he beats that guy. So you step him up. Right. If he steps up and he fights Kovalev, well, Andre Ward beat Kovalev twice, or he beat Kovalev once, and then he got knocked out by Alvarez. Okay. If he beats Alvarez. Okay, well, who's Alvarez beat? He beat Kovalev, but Kovalev already got beat by Andre Ward. So, okay, so he beats Alvarez. So then he goes and fights Bivol. He beats Bivol. Oh, yeah, but Bivol, he's a good fighter and everything, but you know what? He's not that experienced. So he fights Adonis Stevenson. Oh, but Adonis Stevenson, he got knocked out by Darnell Boone. And Adonis Stevenson, he's an old man anyway. Okay, he moves up from light heavyweight to cruiserweight. He beats Usyk. Oh, well, Usyk, he's a good fighter, but he couldn't punch for toffee. Right, moves to heavyweight, beats Joshua. Oh, well, Joshua was a bit chilly anyway. He got dropped by Klitschko. And who was his best win? Oh, his best win may have been Pop. So the story goes on. When Floyd beat everyone in his era, they were still talking about him fighting Golovkin. Golovkin, a guy who had beaten absolutely nobody. Nobody Golovkin had beaten. But they wanted him to fight Golovkin. See, so boxing fans, when you're talking about, you got to be careful who you're talking to in boxing, because they're the people who have got goalposts that just change from week to week. All right, and no matter, it's like a black hole with them. No matter how much you give them, they're never satisfied. So they're the sort of people I put to one side in talking boxing, because you never satisfy them because they never satisfy themselves. So you put them to one side. So I put them along. They're the goalposts. They just change the goalposts every day. Goalkeepers, put them to one side. Then you've got the fans who generally want to be entertained. Well, if you want to be entertained, you want to see good fights, then the way you get entertaining fights is to get in fight guys who are match competitively at the right times, And when you talk about marinating fights, you also have to think about, you want to make sure your fight gets paid enough money. You've got to think about the TV deals. You've also got to think about training camps. There's so many things you have to consider about both, when it's the right time for both guys to fight. So this thing about marinating fights, sometimes it's just about the right time. I don't particularly want to see Anthony Yarde. I don't particularly want to see Anthony Yarde fighting Sergey Kovalev or fighting these guys just because somebody was happy for it, because somebody wants to see it happen. Somebody wanted to see Joshua Buatsi and Yarde fight. Somebody wanted to see James DeGale and George Groves fight. But what was the point of that? I mean, you saw two guys who basically were still amateurs just turn up pros. It didn't make any sense. So, at the end of the day, people can have their opinions, and you listen to people's opinions. Yeah, people's opinions are like this. Here are some of the people's opinions. These are people that I know on this channel that have come to Tyson Fury is a bum, can't fight, can't box, blah blah blah. He beats Klitschko. They're the same people that turn around now and tell you that Tyson Fury would have beaten Muhammad Ali. Some of these people have got, when you check this, when you listen to what they say and you actually put on paper what they say, you can tell they've got no idea about boxing. They've got no clue about the technique of boxing, how good a fighter is. People jump on a bandwagon as well. Here's the thing. One of the big things, he's world ranked number 1. Okay. Callum Smith has been world ranked number 1 for how many years? How many guys has Callum Smith fought who's WBC, not WBO, WBC ranked for over 2 years, and he knocked back opponents? He knocked back Ramirez. He knocked back a Durrell fight. I don't hear anybody jumping up and down about Callum Smith. And Callum Smith had a decorated amateur career. And about how many fights did Callum Smith have? And he had fought nobody in the top 20, nobody in the top 15, nobody in the top 10. And Callum Smith was world ranked number 1. And according to his promoter, he was the best prospect in the world. So it's really interesting how people can turn around and talk about Callum Smith. But Callum Smith ain't fought nobody. Who's Callum Smith fought? Tell me who Callum Smith has fought. Don't tell me about the World Boxing Super Series. Before the World Boxing Super Series, who had Callum Smith fought? Who exactly? Luke Blackledge? But you accepted that because the promoter said it. He was the best prospect in the world of world boxing. Just because you don't like that other promoter, that's a problem. So I don't understand where you people get these stories from. If Callum Smith, yeah, he's in a World Boxing Super Series now, but who has he boxed? Who has Callum Smith boxed? How long has he been the WBC number 1? How many years had he been WBC number 1? Then who did he beat? So I don't want to hear nobody sit down and telling me about Anthony Yarde, who's had less fights, who didn't have the amateur background that Callum Smith had. Right? So I don't hear nothing. And if you want to talk about things, boxing is not just about two guys getting in the ring and punching one another up. Anthony Yarde, you look at what he's done. Name me any of the fighters, any of the British fighters you know today that have got an advertisement that comes on when Sky TV's on and when Box Nation are on or BT Sports are on. How many fighters do that? Only one fighter can do that, and Anthony Yarde. So promotionally, he's done fantastic. Fantastic. Promotionally, he's done fantastic. Yes, he's going to fight, but what's the rush? What's the rush? What's the rush? The man is going to step up and he's going to fight. Eventually, he's going to fight. But for me, I'd rather him step up and fight. Oh, by the way, these domestic rivals that he's fought. Okay. All right. Let's go for the guys you call them domestic rivals. Hosea Burton. Name me the last 3 fights Hosea Burton's fought. Name me Hosea's last 3 opponents. Okay. Talk to me of Frank Buglioni. Who did Frank Buglioni originally get knocked out by? Okay. And then after Frank Burnley got knocked out, he fought a world title level. He just got knocked in by Callum Johnson. A guy who hadn't fought for what, a year and a half or 2 years, got chinned in around by Callum Johnson. So if Yarde beats Buglioni, you'll say, okay, Yarde beats Buglioni, he beats Burton. What are you going to say to me? Oh, well, none of them are proven to be world class. So I don't understand it. I don't get it. And what's the big rush for him to fight for British title? Did Bruno fight for? Was Bruno British champion? Was Nigel Benn British champion? Was Chris Eubank British champion? None of those guys thought were British champions. So I don't believe Yarde's scared. Timo's scared. I don't talk about what does it prove. See, for me, a lot of you guys, how many of them talk to me about your fighters? Talk to me about the boxers you've got or the boxers that you support, and how well have they been managed? How well have their careers been mapped out for them, or they've been told who to fight? There's a difference. There's a big difference. Yarde is control of his career, and that's what you guys don't like. He's not jumping like when Price got knocked out by Thompson. A lot of you were screaming out here and telling Price to go back and fight Thompson for the second time. Now Price has been exposed because he wasn't ready. He didn't have the right fights at the right time. Wasn't matched correctly. You call Price a bum. So what? See, Anthony Yarde should go and fight guys and get exposed so you guys can turn around and be justified just to call him a bum? No. I endorse what they're doing 110%. And when the time is right, they will fight. They will fight. They will fight the guys in this fight. The guy's got skills. He's got talent. I remember people on here telling me about how Terence Crawford wasn't very good on this same channel, and how Ricky Burns is going to beat Terence Crawford. I told you about Terence Crawford. I told you about Keith Thurman. I told you about what's his name? Usyk. Told you. There's a lot of these guys I spoke about before they become world champions. And this guy, Yarde, has got a heck of a lot of talent. And I'm watching this guy up close. This guy's got a hell of a lot of talent that's not been seen. A lot of people are jumping up and down, and they can't think for themselves. They think based on what a promoter says. Do you know what I mean? If that promoter says stand in front, go on the motorway in London and stand in the middle of the motorway, you won't get run over. Half of you will probably listen to a promoter and stand in the middle of the motorway and get run over. So, do you know what I mean? I just think, why do you want to put a guy that's inexperienced in with lions? I mean, yes, he's a lion in his own right, but it's timing. Everything is timing. And I totally agree. I totally agree. It's like me taking you from primary school, from secondary school, and people saying, oh, you're this, that, and the other. Now, remember, Yarde didn't go to the WBO, and Babatunde did not go to the WBO and say, stick us number one. They didn't. It's based on a point system. That's how they got to number one. So for me, I'm not so fussed about the number one thing. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But as far as I'm concerned, if I was a professional fighter, or if my son was a professional fighter, I'd want them managed under the way that when Hatton and Calzaghe were having, and remember, Hatton and Calzaghe had a whole list of guys you never heard of in their careers before they stepped up. So for me, and they had better amateur careers than Yarde. So for me, I like what's doing. There's a difference. You know, you look at a lot of what Frank Warren fighters, how many of the other promoters fighters you could turn around and say are living legends today. Ben is one. So many guys that came under Warren, Calzaghe, Hatton, they built their careers under Warren. They didn't need to be world champions. They were well household names and went and fought in the States as well, and had title defense after title defense after title defense. They were champions in their own right. Warren knows how to build guys up. He knows how to build a fighter. There ain't no one better in this country who knows how to build a fighter. I know the other promoter likes to get a fighter and throw him under the bus, unless it's Anthony Joshua. You just have to look at the careers. How many fighters, if Matchroom tomorrow were to lose Anthony Joshua, where would Matchroom be tomorrow? So eventually he needs to fight, guys. I'm sure he will fight, guys, but when they're ready, they will take the fights. Simple as that. They will take the fights. I've got no doubts about it. No doubts in my mind. But yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you there, Cobra there. Good point. Do you know why Ahara Davis left Babatunde? That's another thing. Why did Ahara Davis have to fight Josh Taylor? Why did he have to fight Josh Taylor? We've seen how good Josh Taylor is now. Okay, why did he have to fight Josh Taylor? This is another one of those, he should fight him. All those people now who are sitting around saying he should have fought Josh Taylor, and when he got his ass handed to him, same people turned around and said, oh, Ahara Davis can't fight, he's rubbish, and called him a quitter. Same people. With friends like those, you don't need enemies. So I don't conversations like that, people like that, I don't want to have conversations because they don't understand the sport of boxing. In this era, you guys, this era is very different to the era of Leonard, Hagler, and Hearns, or even the era of Ben and Eubank. Those eras there, it didn't matter if you had a loss, you could come back. Now, and you can blame Sky as well. If you have you get a loss and you start losing it, you lose a match, then it's the end of the road. Okay, sure, but who was the promoter? We're not talking about the manager, we're talking about the promoter here. And Warren was the promoter. And between the manager and the promoter, they made the decisions as to how Ben should move. So it's a joint thing. It wasn't just Ambrose Mendy by himself, mate. It was Mendy and Warren working together. If I'm right, it was Mendy and Warren. O'Hara got well, there's a correction here. There's a correction about that. Eubank went to Hearn. The true story is Eubank went to Hearn and he said to me, you get me beat, I'm out of this office. So he did. And they built Eubank up slowly. They built him up until they felt he was ready. And when Eubank felt he was ready, he went for Nigel Benn. That's how it was. If Hara loses the catcher, where does he go? Good question. Good question. But it's about managing fights. My point is this. I'm not going to sit here and say one thing, and when a person gets beat, then turn and say something else. No, I understand the era. The era is now, if you get beat, people are not interested in you. People want to see a zero behind your name. And as long as Anthony Yarde has a zero behind his name and he's continued to market himself, he's looking to build himself outside of boxing. A lot of guys can only box. That's it. Anthony Yarde is doing modeling. He's doing this. He's doing that. But he still fights as well. I like what the guy's doing. I'm in full support of how his career has been managed in this era. I don't think it's acceptable for Yarde's career to be the way it is, unbeaten and ranked number 1 in the world, if we were back in the era of Hearns, Hagler, and Leonard, or the era of Ben and Eubank. All right, that is unacceptable. But in this era, when O means everything, and we're talking about money, TV deals, and gate receipts, and all this rubbish, you have to go with the era. And that's what society says today. Having an O is fantastic. We can sell that. That's what I feel. Yes, EJ, I know that he has to have fights, but you're not listening to me, brother. You're not listening to me. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Get it out of your mind. It's not going to happen. That era of he's got to fight men, that era is done. That's done. That era is done. The World Boxing Super Series has saved boxing, right? Because without the World Boxing Super Series, the person that the O and all this nonsense, the thing with the O and the Mayweather mentality would still be around. The World Boxing Super Series has opened up the possibilities of, okay, you can lose a fight, but you're in a tournament fighting the best versus the best. Okay, big different. Okay, the World Boxing Series has opened up a different scenario. Why do you know why Daniel Dubois left Babatunde too? Seems like these boxers have no loyalty for the people that brought them through. I don't know. Wilder was way too slow in building up opposition, in my opinion. Yarde can't get to 40 fights without fighting a top 15 guy. Okay, how many fights has Callum Smith had? Let me have a look and see how many Callum Smith has had. as you're all talking here, and I know what you're half of you on. So let me just look at Callum Smith's record a second. Let me look at Callum Smith, because you're all talking about Anthony Yarde, who never had the amateur experience that Callum Smith had. Let me look at Callum Smith. Let me box check this guy. And he was the best prospect in the world boxing, remember? According to his promoter, he's the best boxer in world boxing, best promoter, best prospect in world boxing. Remember that? Okay. He's 24-0 with 17 KOs. All right. He was ranked #1 by the WBC for so long. Okay. And you tell me, let's look down his record. George Groves is first world-class fighter he's fighting, and that will be his 25th fight in the World Boxing Super Series. Nicky Holskin, Eric Skoglund, Luke Blackledge, Norbert Nezapati, Cesar Reynoso, Hadilia Muhadi, Rocky Fielding. Okay, he just won a world title. Rocky Field was unbeaten at the time, and that was for the British title, I believe. Yeah. Rabassi. Nicholas Soloko. That's the one that Yarde fought, and Yarde knocked him out. Right? But you look at his record, you look at the guy he's fought. He started his professional career fighting a guy who was 2-14. Then he fought a guy who had 7-56, 4-13, 3-11, 14-26. 3-0 was against Ryan Moore. 10-26, 14-6, 28-8, 43-10, 14-1, 15-3, 6-0, 48-10, 28-2, 19-21 losses, 23 fights, 3 losses. Then he started fighting some better opposition. Rocky Fielding, 21-0. But okay, Rocky Fielding wasn't well ranked at the time. So my point is this. And that was a guy who's sitting in the. That was a guy who's sitting in the world. That was a guy that was sitting in the world. World ranked #1 spot and refused 2 title shots. I don't hear anybody talking about that. He refused to fight Durrell for the vacant title. He refused to fight Ramirez for the WBC title. WBO title. He refused to fight Durrell for the vacant WBC title. I don't hear nobody come and talk to me about that. I don't hear nobody talk. The announcement is coming straight after this. We're just waiting for the people to. Hold on. Yeah, I will be making an announcement very shortly. We've got a huge announcement to make on the channel. This is the thing I see as a consistency across boxing. Some boxers are graded on a bell curve, and others receive the most grilling scrutiny. Okay, wait. Now let me explain something. Okay, EJ, just pick sense from nonsense, just for a second. If Yarde beats Buglioni, what does it prove? Is Buglioni a world-class fighter who got chinned in around by Callum Johnson? Does that mean that Buglioni is world-class, who's already been exposed as a super middleweight, moved up to light heavyweight and got chinned in around? Does that prove anything? You're just going to sit there and tell me, well, he got chinned by Callum Johnson. He beats Jose Burton. But who has Jose Burton beat of real caliber? Who has Frank Buglioni beaten of real caliber? Who have they beaten? Who have they beaten? Listen, Bivol, when I interviewed him live on the channel video chat, he didn't know who he was. Bivol didn't have no idea who Buglioni was or Jose Burton was, but he damn well knew who Anthony Yarde was. I'm not sure what the angle is, EJ, but I'm not sure, but what I'm saying is that, what do you want? Are you one of these guys that want to be entertained? Then just say you want to be entertained, and I'll understand you. But if you're talking about professional boxing and managing a fighter's career in this era, then just two different conversations. Sure, I would love to see Yarde going, but at the right time. At the right time. And he's fully charged, he's fully confident, he's ready to do business. That's it. Further shooting off whooped Buglioni. Well, there you go. He needs to fight a name. What name? What name is Frank Bug? No disrespect. What name is Frank Buglioni in the boxing world, in light heavyweight division? What name is Frank Buglioni? Are you seriously? Are you seriously saying Frank Buglioni is a name in the light heavyweight division? Seriously? Would you show your face on camera and tell people that Frank Buglioni, tell people around the world that Frank Buglioni is it? I suggested if he's going to fight anybody, a good fight would be against Jean Pascal. Jean Pascal is a guy who I think Yarde should fight. Jean Pascal, I would stick him in with Kovalev now. But I think Kovalev's done. This is a good time to fight Kovalev. Those are two guys I'd stick him in with. I have no doubts about it whatsoever. Bloody Bob Adjusef, come on, man. Jean Pascal's a guy I'd fight a light heavyweight. And Yarde and Pascal would be a good fight. Yarde and Joe Smith, that's a good fight. I'd make that fight as well. So, MTK, hey, mate. Yes. Everyone tune in. I'm glad you're all tuning in a minute. I will be cutting out here. So when you listen, when you're talking world boxing and you say Frank Buglioni or Jose Burton, really? Is that what excites you? Frank Buglioni fighting Yarde? Now, come on, man. Craig Richards. Didn't Craig Richards get beat by Frank Buglioni? Oh my God. No. It was amazing. It does say something. The other day, it was great to hear that Angel Garcia invited Boba Tunde and Anthony Yarde over to the training camp. You know, they didn't invite Buglioni over. They didn't invite Callum Johnson over. They didn't invite Jose Burton over. So these guys know boxing. Why do you Ricky Summers? Why do you have to show his level? Love the new background, mate. Thank you. So if he knocks out Buglioni, you'll be the first man to jump up and tell everybody how Buglioni had no chin and he can't box. You'll be the first man to say it. That's what I talk about goalposts. Be honest. Be honest, EJ. Be honest. I don't want to see him fight no Brit fighters. I would rather see Joshua Buatsi go and get a world title. Yarde go and get a world title and get those two to do a unification matchup. That's how I would see. I would love to see that. Buatsi go and fight for the world title. Yarde go fight for the world title and a unification bout in the UK. Okay, you never said. So you said Bob Adjusef. Okay, well, who knows Bob Adjusef? What's his level? You can't tell what you can't sit back and watch and tell what his level is. EJ, you've been watching boxing for how many years? You can't tell his level. You can't watch a man and see if a man can fight or not. Come on, EJ, man. Come on, EJ, man. I could see. I didn't have to watch Crawford to enough. When I interviewed Crawford before, a lot of you people talking about Crawford. I interviewed Crawford. I could see the class in the man. I could see the man was going to go on to do great things. Man's pound for pound champion. I became undisputed champion. Who else? Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman can't fight. Keith Thurman can't box. Keith Thurman unified champion. But I interviewed, talked to these guys before they became champions because I could see the champions in them. I could see they had the ability. They had something special. So you have to. It's not just. It's all right to talk about levels, but if you're going to talk about boxing, you've got to put yourself out on the line and say, is that guy at the level or not? Is he at the level or not? So when Kovalev was going to fight, what's his name? Nathan Cleverly. I tell everyone within 3 rounds, Kovalev will destroy Cleverly. He's just got some serious punching power there. Do another video of Yarde and BWTM. Would love to hear their views on the fight and training in USA. Also like to know what happened to Junior Samba. I've got him. I did see Junior. I've got some training footage of Junior preparing for his fight. Who has a name? Yarde is a character and has definitely got the tools to make it. Buglioni would get beat by Yarde, trust me. Yarde too slick and he hits too damn hard. He hits too damn hard for Buglioni. Too hard. Too hard. I mean, okay, let me ask you something. Instead of saying this guy needs to fight, in your opinion, a man who's watched so much boxing, EJ, has he got the potential to go on and become a world champion? You tell me. Because if you don't believe he's got the potential to be a world champion, then you would be very impatient and you're like, oh, well, he's not that good anyway. But if you think he's got the potential to be a world champion and you believe in the journey, then you'll wait. You give it time, you'll wait. I mean, I think Yarde's got potential to be on world champion. I think he has, if he's managed the right way and takes the right fights at the right time. That's what I think. I think it's about picking the right fights at the right time. That's all it's about. Management, picking the right fights at the right time. I think so. Anyway, Floyd picked the right fights at the right time, didn't he? Golovkin's picked the right fights at the right time, hasn't he? Canelo picked the right fights at the right time, hasn't he? It's all right for everybody else to do. Why can't you do that? Pick the right fights at the right time. Yarde's going to go on and become a pay-per-view star if he does what he's doing. BWTM, Junior Saba is now training with Xavier Miller. Well, he looked like he was training with Xavier Miller last week, the trainer at the IQ Boxing Academy. Agree, Yarde beats Frank, but why can't we see it with our own eyes? You'd see it with your own eyes. I told you about the goalposts already. I'm going around in circles about this now. Look, so basically 3 sets. There's marinating fights to ensure that fighters get the right experience at the right time, so when they go in, they perform at their best. Champion versus champion. There's nothing worse than seeing 2 champions look absolutely appalling. Chamberlain versus Okoli was a stinker. Chamberlain wasn't ready to fight. He didn't have enough experience. Rabbit headlight syndrome. And Okoli, well, it just stuck the joint out. Chamberlain just wasn't ready for the fight. A year from now, that would probably been a great fight because Chamberlain had more experience fighting big occasions. So I think you just have to have those guys together. You have to get the right time. It's timing, I think, for me. Managing fighters, it's all about, again, managing your fighter in this era to keep them unbeaten, get the experience, and then inch your way closer and closer to a world title fight and eventually become a world champion. And then becoming a world champion and becoming a pay-per-view star. That's the plan. So that's what you want to do. And I don't think any fan, if you were getting paid, if you were told to manage a certain fighter's career, I wouldn't care what anybody's got to tell me. I want to get my man to be a pay-per-view fighter. And these are the steps I need to do to become a pay-per-view fighter. Yeah, the goalpost does have wheels. Oh. He's got way more charisma than Joshua. That's a very good point. Yeah, you're talking about a senior Byfield. Yes, he's going to be fighting Cheeseman for the British title. So we look forward to that. How's Usyk's name pronounced? Random question. I know, enjoying the shows this week as per usual, Ingram. Thank you very much. Keep the show going. I can't because I've got the people that are meant to be jumping in to make the big announcement waiting in a few moments. So ready in 5 minutes. So yes, Usyk or Usyk. Usyk. So yeah, I know there's a frustration. I know you guys want to see Yarde fight. I want to see Yarde in big fights. But I also understand in time. Americans seem to like Yarde more than Joshua. Email. Okay. Oh yes. I'll send that off to you tomorrow. Just waiting for the wife. But yes, email absolutely. Now, big news will be breaking after this. In a minute, I'm just going to have to log out and then put on our big breaking news story. It's a huge story. It's a great story for definitely for boxing fans. And if you remember, back in the day, Bayloric TV used to be about bringing the world closer to you. I think in 2018, we're on the verge of bringing the world closer to you, real close to you. And I ain't gonna say no more. I'm not gonna root for you, but this is gonna be worth tuning into. It really is. So get your popcorns ready. Your popcorn sound like Henny Acker one day. Get your popcorns ready. Get it ready. This will not disappoint you. Honestly, I've hyped some things up in the past, but this is tasty stuff. Real tasty stuff, and it's just exciting. Really exciting. I'll be back. And please don't miss a word. I'm going to be back in literally 5 minutes, and we're going to be having an international call. Literally, we're going to be having an international call, and it's a big announcement. All right, so I'll see you literally in between 5 to 10 minutes. Make sure you don't go anywhere. It's absolutely awesome stuff. I'll talk to you then. Get your popcorns ready, people.